Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. My name is Daniel Ferraz, and I will be responsible to introducing Andrea Cotrim and Bianca Ferrari, who will help me here. And let me just contextualize what we're doing. So this is an event um, promoted by the University of São Paulo, but more specifically within the discipline in the undergraduate course of Letras em Inglês from FEFELESH. So this is like a class, a different class, in which we will have the talk from Professor Dr. Andrea Cotrim this morning, and also Dr. Susana Mizan at 9 p.m. tonight. So I'd like to thank all my students because they allowed us to share this event with everybody from around Brazil. I see Michele already there from Goiás. I see Juliane. Juliane, tell me where you're from. Juliane is always present. And I also see many of my students already here in the chat. So this is an event within the discipline of topics of language and culture. And we've been discussing many concepts in terms of language. And now in the second part of our course, we've been discussing many perspectives in relation to the term culture, okay? And today we will welcome Andrea Cotrim talking about images, visual culture, etc., from her research, from her pedagogical classes. So I hope you all enjoy, okay? Let me just send you right away the link for the certificates. I will be sending this along the event. So please open a window and fill in your name, institution, and email so that we can send so we can send you the certificates. Hi, Adami, Guilherme Adami, so nice to have you. So let me add, this is Bianca Ferrari. She's my assistant in the discipline. She's also my master's student, and Andrea Cotrim. Okay, this is Dr. Andrea Cotrim, the speaker for the morning. Okay. So before we start, I see probably all my students here. I would just like to invite my students to write their first name and last name, or say hello, something like that in the chat, so that Bianca and I can register your presence. Denied accent on the link. Oh my goodness, Daniel Ferraz. I'll check it out, Laura. Just a second. It must be, I don't know what's going on. Always Daniel. I'll check it out while Andrea is speaking. I'll check it out with Bianca. So let me introduce you Professor Dr. Andrea Cotrim. Besides being a big friend of mine, a research partner, we have been writing and doing research surrounding images, visual culture, and digital culture for some time now, especially cinema and films. Andrea Cotrim is a doctor from the University of São Paulo. I think she will talk a little bit about herself. And she's a professor at Instituto Federal São Paulo and Universidade Paulista. Andrea, I couldn't thank you more. And I'm sure students are going to love everything you have to share with us. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being available at this time of the year and end of November, pandemic. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me tell you before Andrea starts, please interact with Professor Andrea Cotrim in the chat by asking questions, making comments. And Bianca and I will organize the questions. So Andrea will speak for about 50 minutes, 1 hour. And then we have around 20 minutes, 30 minutes for the debate. Okay, so please interact, ask questions, make comments, because we are organizing your comments and questions. And thank you all for being here with us, okay? Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody. Thanks for your presence. Well, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'll try to do my best. Okay, Daniel? Okay, so I'll try to share my slides. Can you see them?
Yeah, yes, we can see Deconstructing Abyssal Thinking in the Visual, right?
Yeah, this is the title of my presentation, Deconstructing Abyssal Thinking, the Visual. And we have to know what the abyssal thinking is. Let me try to go next. Okay, and I'll try to explain through this image. What can you see in this image? A woman wearing a burqa and probably her husband with her son in the sea. Well, I put this text on Facebook, and then there was I put this image on Facebook, and then there was this text, an image that well illustrates the imprisonment of women in Islam. While the father is cooling off with the child in the sea, the mother is forced to cover herself from head to toe so as not to show any part of her body in public. Reflect. I love this part. Reflect. Why? Because it shows just one interpretation, just a univocal interpretation of the world. This is the abyssal thinking, okay? The distinction between true and false, what is good and what is evil, what is civilized and what is considered to be primitive, what is beautiful and what is ugly. Very dichotomous, isn't it? And it relates to the Saussurian sign. So you have here another image. The Saussurian sign is formed by a signifier, which is the physical existence, the sound, the word, the image, and the signified, the mental concept. Okay. Just an interpretation. The woman is not happy because she's wearing a burqa. Then I have another picture. Okay. When we have a unique interpretation of things, it is very violent. Well, analyzing this picture now. The girl wearing a bikini thinks, everything covered but her eyes. What a cruel male-dominated culture. While the woman wearing a burqa thinks, nothing covered but her eyes. What a cruel male-dominated culture. I don't want to sound dichotomous because I know that the girl wearing a bikini may dress whatever she wants, and it does not happen to the woman in a burqa. But I just want to show you that there are different interpretations of the same event. That's why Menezes de Souza made a scheme according to Bakhtinian sign, considering the interpreter. And the interpreter is situated in a specific context and crossed by subjectivities according to his or her culture, gender, social class, age, spirituality, history, language, etc., etc. This is what we call the locus of enunciation. Here we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. We see things by means of our locus of enunciation. And again, Menezes de Souza redefines the concept of critical literacy, saying that we should read ourselves reading. We should make an effort to read oneself's reading. Okay. Okay, so for instance, if we take the category indigenous people, are you talking about indigenous people from Mexico, from Bolivia, from Peru, from the United States, from Canada, or from Brazil? From Brazil, okay. But even here, we have 900,000 indigenous people, 305 ethnicities, 274 languages, and they do not only live in forests, but also in cities. So we have to expand our interpretation of the world, as Valkyria Montemor says. Are you talking about Macunas, Potiguaras, Guajajaras, Mundurucus, Carajás, Caiapós, Ticunas, Tupinambás, Chavantes, Yanomamis, Tupi, Krenak, Pataxós, Guaranis, Nambiquaras, Terenas, Caxinauás, or Charruás, among many others? Are you talking about a group which is considered to be passive, or they are warriors? So we have to problematize any category, okay? Then you asked me to talk a little bit about my thesis, and then I have to explain the objectives of my thesis. The first one was to investigate how violence permeates the movie, because I deal with cinema, with the question of the non-hegemonic other, mainly the African Americans and their place in society before, during, and after the civil rights movement. Another objective was to analyze the main productions of each decade that either authorized univocal census or made a rupture in the canonical regime of representation. For instance, during the Obama era, we had a range of productions about African Americans showing their trajectory, either during the slavery or during the civil rights movement. For instance, Selma the Butler, 12 Years a Slave, Michelle and Obama, Precious, Hidden Figures, The Birth of a Nation, The 13th Amendment, What Happened, Nina Simone, and many others. So I tried to investigate how race, social class, and gender issues of oppressions are entangled. That's what we call the intersectionality of oppressions, according to feminist theories. And I also found out that aesthetics is an ideological construction. Okay, that's why I said that the representation is violent. All kinds of representations are violent somehow. Okay, so first of all, how Blacks have been represented in Hollywood? Which discourses were institutionalized? I found out that in the beginning of the 19th century, for instance, Blacks couldn't act, so whites wore blackface. Do you know what blackface is? They painted their faces with burnt corpse. And they performed lascivious Black people, ignorant Black people. So the first example is from this movie, The Birth of a Nation, which is a very racist movie. This horrible practice lasted till 1940. As you see here, a white man wearing blackface. Okay. Another film released in 1939 is Gone with the Wind. It's a wonderful film concerning photography, but at the same time, extremely racist. It showed male Black characters like incompetent, servile, or the black of white soul, you know, the Uncle Tom myth. No, he was there to serve whites, or even humorous, clumsy criminals. And of course, they didn't have a standard English. That's why they were stereotyped. Female characters were childish. They needed the whites' assistance. And even after Gone with the Wind, many stereotypes like the hypersexualized woman or the sass, the sass girl. Well, but the most stereotyped character was the mammy. The mammy was there, as you see here, the fat woman, not sexualized at all. And she was there to serve her lady, always worried about her lady. Of course, there were some rupture attempts, like the films made by Oscar Michaud. He tried to show Black people at work, living a normal life. Not like in King's Vidor's film, Hallelujah, showing Blacks always dancing, always singing. Again, very much stereotyped. I also analyzed the myth of mixed-raced people. They were considered to be degenerate. They were considered to have lots of problems. In this film, Imitation of Life, we have a girl. She's a mixed-race person, and she denies her Black mother. The film is very touching because in the end she regrets her action, but it has a secret message. Okay, if you are Black, don't get married to a white. If you are white, don't get married to a Black person. That's the secret message of this film. Other ruptures in the hegemonic modes of representations happened in the 60s, even because we had a very gorgeous actor, Sidney Poitier. He was gorgeous, polite, educated, and the white audience just loved him. He performed Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and the classic, the iconic To Sir with Love. I strongly recommend this film, okay? And during the 70s, another movement took place. It was named Blaxploitation. Here, there was an inversion of the hegemonic representation. Why? Because Blacks were smart, they were intelligent, they were the policemen, they were the detectives, they fought the karate, and the whites were the criminals and they needed the Blacks' assistance. So there was an inversion. I think that you all have heard of Shaft, the most famous movie from this Blaxploitation movement. And unfortunately, Black women were also powerful, but, in the wake of hypersexualized. They were hypersexualized girls, like Cleopatra Jones with Pangreer. And then, during the 80s and the 90s, we have other Black visibilities, but I also put contemporary vulnerabilities. Why? Because how much of Blackness do they really show us? Like Will Smith, Okie doke, he has performed many main roles, but he doesn't talk about racial issues. The other actors and actresses here, they participate in films, but they are supporting white roles. So that's another problem. Like Idris Elba in Thor, Halle Berry was the main character, but hypersexualized. Queen Latifah, always comic, always the sass girl. And the magic Negro, I'm going to use this Negro. I know it's a derogative term, but it's the name of a stereotype. Okay, the magic, the black person who has magic powers. And then in the 90s, a director emerged and tried to talk about a kind of blackness in a different way. Spike Lee. I think that you all heard of him already. And he showed, for instance, the riots in the United States in Do the Right Thing, or he dealt with the sensuality attributed to Black people, like we have here in the She's Gotta Have It, or even talked about historical events or historical leaders like Malcolm X. In 2018, he made Black Klansman, I'm going to talk about this afterwards, and DA Five Bloods. Okay, so I'll talk about this in a bit more detail. And then, as I said before, there was a range of films during the Obama era from 2006 to 2016, like The Help, Selma, Freedom, Django Unchained, What Happened to Miss Simone, The Butler, The Hateful Eight by Tarantino, Precious, and 12 Years a Slave. They either showed us Blacks' history during the slavery, or the civil rights movement, as I said, as I have already mentioned. And other films like the documentary I Am Not Your Nigger, The 13th Amendment, Fence, Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures is about 3 scientists who really worked for NASA. It's a real story. And during the segregational laws, the Jim Crow and separate but equal. So can you imagine? They were all the time arrested by the police, and they worked for NASA. OJ, Made in America. Another film is The Birth of a Nation, and Moonlight. Moonlight won the Oscar, and it talked about the intersectionality of oppressions, because this guy is a homosexual, he's poor and Black. And, you know, all the expectations attributed to Black men, you know, the Black buck. Anyways, so it is a very sensitive film. I do recommend it. And then, Black Panther. Black Panther is an iconic movie because it shows us the African ancestrality, and Black people were intelligent, they were powerful in Wakanda. Okay, remember Wakanda. Unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman died this year. And, unfortunately. But we see it's related to Black Panther, the Black Panthers movement. Don't you think it is the same throne, or almost the same throne? In the first picture, we have the founder of the Black Panthers movement, Huey Newton. Okay? So this African ancestry comes in a beautiful way. That's why Black Panther is very significant. Also because it was made by Marvel, with the box offices, you know, lots of money, sold a lot, and it became a Marvel classic. It's a hero film. Well, talking a little bit about Django Unchained by Tarantino, we have here in the first image Django. It's he is an enslaved man, and he's freed and he becomes a bounty hunter. It's quite interesting because it shows us a Western with no Indians nor Mexicans. And there is a rupture because the cowboy myth is not of a white man, it's of a black man. People got very shocked because they said, my goodness, so cruel. And, well, slavery was cruel. On the other picture, we have Peter. He was a slave in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Can you see his back? How many lashes? Okay, so slavery was quite violent, cruel, horrible. Tarantino makes this bridge, there is always a parallel between past and present. And in his multimodal language, he uses the new version of Bakalov's music. Bakalov was a famous musician during the Western era. But he puts also the sound of the whip. So there is an intertextuality here. Okie doke. So this is visual grammar according to Kress and Van Leuven, so we have to take into consideration all discourses in a film, the sound, the verbal discourse, the gestures, the sensations as well, the image. So we know that Django, the thematic of slavery, is the greatest atrocity of the plot. But at the same time, there are lots of other violences. We have to analyze the film through imagery, verbal, sonorous, and sensory speech in during the meaning-making process. We have to look over the image and its codes, like the lighting, the framing, the shots, the camera movement, okay? If it is traveling, if it is not, the angulation, the editing, because they also tell us the story. I had to learn this. We think that the angle is not important. It is. It is important in a movie. The illumination. Besides sonorization, of course, the music track, sound effects, the verbal speeches, graphic inscriptions, and the sensations, because we analyze the loci of enunciation, not only of the viewer, but of the screenplayer, the director, the producer, the effects, and as Jean Rancière says, the shares of the sensitive. I'm going to talk about this later. So, as I said, violence in Django comes in many ways. This is the writing of the film. We have the plastic imagetic violence, or the construction in which the blood spurts on the screen and the shootings doesn't seem to end. Pa, pa, pa. It is imagetic violence. The linguistic violence, with the use of lots of derogative references like nigger, quite derogative, offensive. The physical violence, the struggle, Mandingo struggle, the persecutions, the lashings. The sound violence, sound is not violent, but the lyrics, the hip hop lyrics that call for they call for freedom, for justice, till today. So it relates to the police violence we have nowadays. The symbolic violence happens because we have the rawness of the history itself, the power relations and their consequences. And the most cruel violence, in my opinion, which is the ethical one, because it ceases, the other ceases to exist and has no right to narrate himself or herself. Oh, let's analyze this image. Do you see the power relations in it, on it? Because, you know, what do you see here? On a plongée shot, the whites are at the top of the stairs, while the blacks are down the stairs. The slave owner is at the top, okay, with Dr. Schultz, and the blacks are there. We say some people from the South still reinforce the idea of a benevolent slavery. And it's shown in this picture because the slave owner says, oh dear, I do not remember her name, the name of the slave, but Anne, oh dear Anne, patronizing her, you know, as if she lived in a wonderful environment. So this is the myth of the benevolent slavery. So using Rancière's theory, we have the share of the sensitive. The sharing of normality tells us that the Negro as a slave is subservient. So the dominant groups make this kind of share that will say that white is superior and it is up to him to punish the black enslaved. But then comes Tarantino, and what does he do? Ta-da! He makes an inversion of the hegemonic representation. Here we have the enslaved whipping his foreman, okay? So it's unimaginable. My goodness, but this is Tarantino. He does this kind of things. So as we said, there is an inversion of power by means of this aesthetics, because through his aesthetics, Tarantino deconstructs the politics of representation of the enslaved black as passive or even victim, and emancipates him. By means of violence, we have a kind of carnivalization, according to Bakhtin's theory, or the deconstruction of the violence that bother us, because there is an exaggeration. It makes absurd, comical, provoking a reflection on the normality of things. Also, there is the redistribution of the sensible. We all know that tragic events cannot be, sociologically speaking, cannot be represented. They are unrepresentable. But the aesthetics can represent horror events. And the result is empowerment, as I'm going to show you in the next picture. Well, the black pride that would make Django engage in philosophical clashes with a white man would only take place after the promulgation of civil rights. But as I said, it's very anachronist. It is Tarantino. And then we have this image, a wonderful, beautiful image in which Tarantino burns the slave owner's house. Can you see the aesthetic of this image? You know, the fire, how powerful it is. Well, there are forms of conciliation in Hollywood. They try not to get in conflict. So whites and black people live in harmony. But on the contrary, it shows us the myth of the white savior, and there is a problem. Those kind of films are very much criticized because of this white savior character. In The Help, for instance, Skeeter, the white journalist, tries to help the maids, the black maids, when she decides to publish their story. Okay, I do think that whites have to help blacks and blacks have to help whites. But this is something that, it's like saying, oh, Black people need the whites' help, always need the whites' help. Anyways, okay, and at least we can analyze how gender, social class, and race oppressions are entangled. Another film, this one won the Oscar, is Green Book. It is a fantastic film. I do recommend it. This is the story of a well-known pianist. He's a musician, but he decides to make a tour in the south of the United States during the segregational laws. And he hired this man to be his car driver. So it is wonderful. It's very touching. But we have to ask ourselves if those kind of films reinforce or break stereotypes because of the figure of the white savior, as I mentioned before. Well, I also analyzed the discourse because the discourse in the United States, due to their religion, is that they are predestined, chosen by God in an arbitrary way. But some people, the problem is that some people weren't elected. And this generates an ethos of intolerance. Also analyzing the discourse, but focusing on the segregational laws, especially Jim Crow and Separate but Equal, you can see that there is an intertextuality, the film and what really happened. The bus, everybody knows that Black people had to stand up when a white decided to sit. And they were supposed to enter by a different doorway in a restaurant, in a hospital, in a library, etc., etc., etc. So there was this sign, colored waiting room. So there is this imagetical intertextuality. And the film shows us the domestic kind of racism, the disciplinary racism practiced by the white housewives. And it occurred during the civil rights movement, led by Luther King, Malcolm X, and during the 70s, we had the Black Panthers. But then, a director decided to show Blackness in a different way. Who? Spike Lee, of course. Spike Lee shows us Blackness in a different way. In this film, released this year, DA Five Bloods, again performed by Chadwick Boseman, he shows us, first of all, that Black people participated in the Vietnam War. First of all, because when a film is directed by whites, unfortunately, we don't have this perspective. And also, when there are Black actors, they are supporting the main white actors. So here, his name is Stormy, he's sitting in a kind of, it reminds us of Black Panther movie, doesn't it? And Hugh Newton's Throne. It brings back the African ancestry. So it is a beautiful image. But Spike Lee does not idealize his characters. We have another one. His name is Paul. And Paul, as everybody else, is crossed by lots of subjectivities, you know, lots of subjectivities crossing him, because he has suffered racism throughout his life. He has participated, no, he has supported the Black Panther movement. He understood how Black people were segregated during the Vietnam War. But, believe it or not, he supports Trump. Isn't it amazing? So it is a complex character. There isn't a univocal meaning in this character. Okay. And he even raises his fist. No, this is the Black Panther's gesture. So it's a very good film because of this. It shows that human beings are quite complex. Well, but now I'm fascinated by Jordan Peele's works, because instead of focusing on Blackness, he focused on whiteness. And white people have to learn that they have privileges, that they act like manipulators, that some of us white think blacks are animalistic. They have a kind of God complex. They practice scientific racism. Remember phrenology during the beginning of the 20th century. They have all kinds of privileges. That's why they don't care when the police stop them. And they pretend to be colorblind. This is the story of an interracial couple. She's the white girl wants to introducing her boyfriend to her family, and everything seems to be very cool, interesting, nice. They do not seem to be racist at first, but then he realizes that blacks are only there to serve their white masters. It's a thriller. It couldn't be different. It's a thriller. I don't like thrillers. I really don't like thrillers, but I recommend Get Out. And also one TV series I'm in love with, Lovecraft Country. Lovecraft Country, also produced by Jordan Peele, shows us what is like to live under a white skin. This actress, Ruby, she's a black singer, and all of a sudden she has to take a magic potion, and the name of this episode is Metamorphosis, and she's going to change into a white lady. So I'm going to show you an excerpt of this episode. I would like you to pay close attention to the privileges she's going to face as a white woman. Okay. Oops. I'm Ruby Baptiste. Stop staring at me.
Master? Answer me, boy. What did you do?
Officer, you didn't hurt me.
I need to protect this animal, man. He did something to you.
You didn't.
It's not working here, unfortunately. It's breaking the scene. I think you're gonna have to explain. Sorry.
Let's get you somewhere safe.
Andrea, can you hear me?
About you, man.
It's not okay, Daniel.
No, no, it's breaking. Can you explain? I'm so sorry. Yeah, and then go to the other slide. Yeah, it's not working. So sorry.
No, it is not. It is not working.
No, it's
Yeah.
yeah. So
Is it right now?
no, it's breaking here. I think you better move on. Explain the scene and move on.
It is okay. Idea of
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Technology. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Um, yeah. Well, this girl, as I said before, she's Ruby. She's black, but she drank a magic potion, and she changed it into a white woman. And okay, but she's not used to that. So when she goes to downtown, she um, she's confused. You know, she's trying to understand what is going on, and then a black boy tries to help her. Then it comes the police. They beat him, and then she says, "Stop! He was. Is he molesting you? No, he was trying to help me." You see, and all of a sudden she raised her hands because as a black person, she knows that she has to behave in front of the police. And what happened? Even if she was altered, the policeman treated her very well. So it shows us the whites' privilege. Okay? Was it okay? Was it okay now to understand the video, Daniel?
Yes, yes. Let me take the opportunity to say you have around 10, 15 minutes to finish so that we have time for the debate. Is that okay?
Okay. Well, some films, especially love story movies, they try to make a coexistence between among blacks and whites. But we have to deconstruct I do agree that we have to deconstruct the abyssal thinking and make and build bridges. As we do have in The Mountain Between Us, performed by Kate Winslet and Idris Elba, and Love Guaranteed on Netflix. But at the same time, if we live in a racialized world, we have to talk about racial issues. It's okay. So that's why I always deal with visual critical literacy in the classroom. Literacy, first of all, designates the social practices of writing that involve knowledge, the relations of power in certain contexts and means. This is the definition by Brian Street. So teachers are supposed to work with themes like ethics, diversity, racism, homophobia, chauvinism, sustainability, citizenship, mobility, eating disorders, bullying, etc., etc., etc. We want to work with citizenship. We have to problematize the distances between cultures by the analysis of the loss of enunciation. And for instance, here in Brazil, we have to explore the myth of racial democracy. Do we really have a racial democracy in Brazil? It is such a hidden issue, isn't it? So teaching practice is working towards a mutual acceptance and cooperation. It is important to deconstruct the hegemonic representation, to link aesthetics to ethics, to take political action for social justice, know the context of the other in order to have less violent identities. Quoting Martin Luther King, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, but by the content of their character. And quoting Angela Davis, in a racist society like we have in Brazil, it is not enough to be non-racist. We must be anti-racist. Why? How can we work with this? We have to make visible what is invisibilized. We have to talk about Jordan. I forgot his name. I forgot his name. Dear Lord. Agatha, João Pedro, George Floyd, Agatha, Miguel was ignored. João Pedro was murdered in his uncle's house. João Alberto was suffocated in the parking lot of a supermarket. This woman was also suffocated by the policeman. The Kaapor leader was murdered. He was trying to defend the Amazon, which is burning. Who is the next one? So teachers, please talk about these issues in your classroom. Teaching practice means deconstruct the abyssal thinking. So I think that all the classrooms should construct every day an anti-racist world. I would like to finish by reading a poem by Langston Hughes, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Complimenting. I too am Brazil. I too am the Amazon. I too am a citizen. I too am a human being, no matter the color of my skin. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrea. I think you can stop sharing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrea. Very inspiring. Wow. So let's see what we can do now.
I'll try, but I don't find it.
Yes, it's okay now. So, well, thank you very much. We have many comments, some questions. So what we're going to do, now we can mix up English and Portuguese. It's really up to you. Alguns alunos fizeram comentários, alunos, participantes, comentários em português, em inglês. Eu fui jogando alguns comentários durante a apresentação, muito sensível, essa partilha do sensível, né, que você está fazendo com a gente. Anyways, so we decided to do like this. I'm going just to read the comments and if you'd like to ask, to answer the comments from the participants, and then Bianca is going to ask you the questions one by one question, and then you answer. Is that okay for you like that?
Much better, yes, much better.
Yes, okay. So there we go. We try to be organized, Andrea, so we have everything organized here, let's say.
But I'm clumsy, relax.
So this is me. I couldn't help but think about the United States Black Lives Matter recently, and of course recently the murder of João Alberto a couple of days ago. I couldn't help but think about the role of art, cinema, literature, and visual literacy, letramento visual, how they can, and how they should help us understand racism as historical, political, social, as something very, very complex. Very, very complex, I think, but at the same time, as you said, we have to talk about it. My questions you have answered with your beautiful final poem. My two questions: what do you have to say about your locus of enunciation as a white woman and scholar? Have you been criticized for talking about these issues and film and cinema and racism and everything that you touch? What can you say to our future teachers when they decide to face racism in their classes? These are my questions. Would you like to say something about that?
Racism is also a problem of whiteness. We have to engage ourselves. We created racism. But our lugar de fala, or who is authorized to speak, is more a lugar de escuta. Vou falar em português, então. É mais de escuta profunda. Antes de falar, você precisa escutar. E dá muito a cara a tapa, porque não é fácil você perceber aquilo que é invisibilizado. É tão invisibilizado que nós, brancos, não percebemos. Fazer um exercício diário para perceber esses lugares de privilégio. E aí se engajar. Então não basta, como diz Angela Davis, não ser racista. Tem de ser antirracista. Primeiro, um lugar de escuta. Escute o que os coletivos, né, de negros estão falando. Observe. Apoie causas como cotas, sabe? Tem uma dívida histórica. E haja. Enquanto eu já estou falando para futuros professores, então haja dentro da sala de aula, trabalhe com essas questões. São espinhosas, mas assim, todo mundo tem as suas subjetividades. Eu, enquanto mulher, também enfrento os meus lugares de subalternidade às vezes. Quer dizer, não me conformo com eles. Mas, né? Então, entender o que é o sofrimento do outro. Mas não fale como se você fosse conhecedor de todas as causas. Você precisa primeiro escutar. Então, essa é a profunda da qual a Djamila Ribeiro fala bastante.
Muito bacana. E é legal ter essa sua fala, porque acabamos de ter as eleições, né? E embora, quer dizer, olha o que está acontecendo. As mulheres negras eleitas sendo perseguidas, vários acidentes, entre aspas, acontecendo, porque a gente ainda vê, né, o quanto que esses discursos que vêm lá de cima, eles vão reforçando, né, e reforçando o racismo. Quando você fala que você é daltônico, sem saber, na verdade, você nem sabe o que é o daltonismo, e você diz que não tem diferença, não tem racismo, quer dizer, isso vem lá de cima dizendo, não reconhecendo essa dívida histórica. E eu acho que a educação continua tendo um papel importante, são muitos desafios, mas continua tendo um papel importante. E o tipo de pesquisa que você faz, o letramento visual crítico que você traz para dentro da sala de aula, eu, conhecedor do seu trabalho, é muito, muito importante. Então, a questão da educação, para que a gente consiga também eleger melhores representantes que busquem a diversidade menos do que reforcem o racismo. A gente sabe que teve eleitos agora de novo, né, você sabe muito bem disso, que são negros, né, como várias lideranças, e que acabam reforçando essa ideia de que não existe um projeto que você nem quer se chamar de ideológico, mas é altamente ideológico e manipulativo, né? Bom,
Na verdade, essas pessoas, Daniel, se você me permite te interromper, elas sofrem racismo.
Claro.
Elas vão abraçar um discurso hegemônico, porque também não cabe a nós brancos julgar, né? O quanto de sacrifício elas tiveram que fazer para pertencer a um determinado grupo. E, de repente, não é porque é branco, negro, ou periférico, ou homossexual, que você está defendendo essa pauta, porque isso não implica uma criticidade. Mas isso também não pode desmerecer a causa de todo um grupo por causa de um indivíduo, né? Mas é igual mulheres, nem todas me representam, né?
Ó, eu vou fazer vários comentários, muitos parabéns, estrelinhas excelentes. A Mariana Bastos, ela colocou assim, e aí eu vou só passear pela sua palestra, eu vou fazer os comentários, aí você faz um comentário que você quiser, do que te chamar a atenção, e aí a Bianca vai para a segunda parte com as perguntas, tá bom? Vamos lá. Vou fazer um translanguage aqui das línguas. Mariana Bastos colocou lá no comecinho da sua fala, isso me lembrou uma série da Netflix chamada Hollywood, que mostra um pouco dos struggles dos negros e das mulheres ao tentarem entrar no mundo hollywoodiano. Né, Mariana? Eu que adorei essa série, inclusive ela é uma série que trabalha as questões LGBT, né? Porque as personagens, um é negro e o outro é branco, e eles têm essa questão também, né? O Alceu Santana, ele falou: "It's great to see how important movies as Marvel's Black Panther are, a AAA blockbuster showing an entire history of Black people and not as sidekicks like always." This is something you commented as well, like the impact of the Wakanda, the impact of all this, especially for the Black children around the world, you know. Thank you, Alceu. Rafa Tenório.
Is extremely important, Daniel. So it's a hero movie made by Marvel. So can you imagine the big success it was? Also, and it's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie.
Rafa Tenório. É interessante como Spike Lee representa os conflitos raciais se originando de fagulhas, que gradativamente explodem em conflitos violentos, né? E aí eu perdi a segunda parte, Rafa, desculpa. Ao Alceu de novo, Wakanda Forever, risos. Verdade, Pantera Negra trouxe o povo negro como ápice do desenvolvimento humano na história do filme. É tida como a nação mais desenvolvida da Terra, não os Estados Unidos. Notável. Aqui é Cielo Festino. In fact, most of these movies are an answer to the civil rights movement, either because they exist, because of it, or because civil rights movement did not mean an end of racism. Equality before the law in America is still a utopia. Muita coisa bacana, né, Andrea? Já estou acabando aqui. É tão importante o posicionamento, já indo para a segunda parte da sua fala, o Anderson Souza. É tão importante o posicionamento dentro da sala de aula. Universidade é lugar de debate, transformação. É preciso tocar nos pontos, né? E aqui o Marcos Vinícius falou, teachers can get... não, aí é pergunta, acho que a Bianca vai perguntar. Acho que tivemos esses comentários, vários outros, e muitos thank yous, excellent. Muito obrigado por trazer inclusive, essa diversidade de referências, porque às vezes nem todo mundo... A gente não conhece tantas referências, né? Então, muito obrigado. Não sei se você quer comentar, respondeu ao seu, Rafa, Cielo...
Não, eu que te agradeço, Daniel. É um prazer, eu também conheço seu trabalho, sou sua fã, acho que número 1. E é sempre um prazer estar trocando figurinhas com você. Eu acho que, como você disse, a arte nos sensibiliza, né? Às vezes, por exemplo, esse excerto que vocês não conseguiram ver direito, pelo jeito, né, do Lovecraft Country, não... Filme de terror, eu não gosto, mas o marido insistiu, veja, porque é o que você estuda, você vai amar. E realmente é uma partilha do sensível, você entende o que é privilégio branco. Naquele episódio especificamente, você entende que você não precisa dar satisfação para a polícia, que mesmo que você esteja alterada, dando chiliques, a polícia vai ser compreensiva. E, gente, isso é grave, é um assunto espinhoso, ainda mais no Brasil, né, ninguém, né, tem esse mito da democracia racial, mas ele precisa ser tocado, a gente precisa falar de coisas espinhosas, senão a gente não detecta o problema e não vai poder saná-lo. Se você finge que ele não existe, é igual dor de dente, né? Eu tô com dor de dente, mas não tem dor de dente. Isso não vai resolver o problema.
Perfeito. Okay, I will leave you with Bianca now, Bianca Ferrari. Bianca, thank you for joining us in the debate. I think Bianca has a lot of questions.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Daniel.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you again, Professor. It's been a pleasure listening to you. Me and Daniel were talking about how difficult it was for us to get the comments and the questions and listen to you. So I think we'll have to watch the video 2-3 times because there were so many things for us to think about as professors and as researchers. So without further ado, I'll get to the questions. The first one is from Cielo, and she asked, Andrea, how would you classify all these films other than chronologically according to theme and style?
Wow, what a complex question, Cielo. How do I classify them? Well, when I was writing my thesis, I decided to talk about decades. So the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the Obama era, because as I said, there was a range of films talking about Black trajectory. And now I'm much more concerned about the representation of whiteness, not Blackness. Whiteness has to be studied as well. So I'm fascinated with by Jordan Peele's movies because it shows us how privileged we are. So I think that my future studies are going to focus on the role of whiteness. Did I answer, Celito?
I think so, but Cielo, please, we are still checking the chat on YouTube. So if she would like to comment, we can get the comment as well. And
they're friends, Bianca. They're close friends.
So they can
talk, they can have a virtual coffee together and debate the chronologically aspects. Thank you, Cielo, for your comments and questions. Bianca, move on. Andrea, your sound is breaking. Is your internet connection good? Can you check?
It is, Daniel. It is.
Okay.
Okay, carrying on then. Giuliani asked, how do you think Blacks should be represented in movies? Should they always talk about Blackness, making a social critique? And how to avoid the white savior complex?
If Blacks should all, let me just close a window here by Teams. I do not agree that, I really hope one day it won't be necessary to talk about Black issues. I really hope so. But now we live in a racialized society. It's a must. We cannot ignore prejudice, segregation. But as I said, in love story movies, we see this attempt for coexistence. But I only found 2 movies, that's the problem. In which racial issues weren't mentioned. You see, Bianca? Esse é o problema. Só 2 filmes que eu achei onde em nenhum momento a questão racial foi mencionada. Que um dia, né, como eu te disse, que um dia a gente possa tratar desses filmes sem ter que fazer essas diferenciações entre pessoas, né, de classes sociais diferentes, de classes sociais, a questão étnica, a questão de gênero. Mas, então, eu acho que a pergunta de quem que foi, Bia, de quem que foi essa pergunta?
Da Juliane Silva.
Talvez a Juliana tenha querido perguntar se todos os filmes têm de falar dessa dor, desse trauma, do rastro desse trauma. Talvez ela... E eu acho que não, né? Eu acho que atores negros não precisam, não devem ser só contratados para atuarem como, sabe, na novela Escravizaura ou Selma, não. Tem que ter outros papéis de relevância para a gente poder aumentar essa representatividade de forma positiva. Então, médicos negros, professores negros, presidentes negros. Então, eu acho que essa era a tônica da pergunta da Juliane, né? A gente não pode se eximir do assunto racismo, porque ele existe, mas a representação de negros em novelas, em filmes, também não tem de estar sempre atrelada às questões da dor, do rastro do trauma.
Perfeito, professora. E eu acho também muito sintomático, como você colocou, que só 2 filmes não tratavam desse aspecto, né? E vou juntar com a pergunta do Alceu Santana, que disse: temos visto quão estrutural o racismo é, mas em contramão ainda vemos muitas falas negacionistas. E aqui acho que você acabou já respondendo nessa pergunta anterior, que o Alceu pergunta: como o cinema pode ajudar a avançar essa questão?
A arte sensibiliza a gente, às vezes, mais do que fatos reais. Não sei, eu tenho essa impressão. Porque a gente vai se envolvendo com a personagem, não é só um take, sabe, daquela pessoa que está sofrendo. Claro que isso é importante, né? Quando você fala da Covid em números, você não humaniza as pessoas que já se foram por causa dessa doença. Então é importante falar também da história dessa pessoa. É uma espécie de documentário que os telejornais estão fazendo, né? Mas quando a questão do Alceu depois eu vou pedir para você repeti-la, mas quando você invisibiliza um problema, essa eu acho que é uma das formas mais infames de você tratar do assunto, não querer enxergar para não poder tratar, sabe? Então, mas se você puder repetir a pergunta, porque acho que eu esqueci de responder alguma coisa.
Claro, a pergunta do Alceu foi como o cinema pode ajudar a avançar essa questão. E acho que você comentou da questão dos papéis também, né? Não só em papéis de dor, mas em outras posições também.
Sim. E também o trabalho do professor, né? O professor que se preste a fazer esse trabalho de letramento crítico na sala de aula, ele precisa se munir de teorias outras que não só da prática docente. Então, ele tem que estudar história, vai falar de racismo no Brasil, tem que estudar a história, há expressões como para inglês ver, né, foi feito nas coxas, denegrir, isso tudo tem um rastro histórico que precisa ser investigado. Então, estudar a história, vai falar do cinema, então como é que, por exemplo, um ângulo está invisibilizando aquela personagem negra? Isso existe, a iluminação, tá? Então, parece que ele é uma personagem negra em condições de igualdade com a personagem branca, mas não é, porque o ângulo, o enquadramento, a iluminação, o corte, está dando uma outra impressão. E essas coisas, elas são invisibilizadas, a gente precisa trazer para a tona, por isso que o professor tem de estudar sempre, né? Não é fácil.
Perfeito. E eu queria, então, pegar esse ganchinho que você comentou das expressões, que os professores têm que estudar também a história dessas expressões, e perguntar como você enxerga também a relação com professores que se recusam a fazer esse trabalho crítico, e falar, não tem nada a ver, eu ensino só inglês, eu ensino só português, e como se a língua estivesse separada disso.
É um entendimento da língua como estrutura e não como discurso. Todo discurso é ideológico. Todo discurso está imbricado como ideologia, né? Então, são pessoas que entendem a prática docente como apenas o trabalho com as estruturas. Enfim. É importante que você trate de outros aspectos, a estética, a construção das personagens, não é? Num filme, então, todas essas metáforas, citações bíblicas, mas é um discurso, e discurso é ideológico, não tem como fugir dele.
Perfeito, obrigada, professora. A Cielo faz mais uma questão, e ela pergunta: Nowadays, there is a move by Black people in USA in order to withdraw from the school syllabus books, like To Kill a Mockingbird or Huck Finn. Is there a similar resistance against some Black movies?
The problem is, I think, is when teachers are not prepared to work with those films as Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind is a racist movie. But if teachers are well prepared, they can discuss those issues in the classroom. So I think those films are quite important, but you have to be prepared to discuss them. É a mesma coisa, né? Puxando aqui para o nosso Monteiro Lobato. Se o professor está preparado para analisar o contexto e ver como é que a representação da pessoa negra, indígena, era feita no século lá em que ele escreveu, tudo bem. Mas se você não vai fazer esse questionamento, então é melhor não dar. Numa outra live me perguntaram sobre a questão das estátuas, né? Se elas precisavam ser arrancadas, as estátuas dos bandeirantes, dos escravagistas. Então, se houvesse um trabalho de conscientização, eu diria que não, que elas deveriam ficar lá para a gente ver quão vergonhoso foi nosso passado. Se essas estátuas pudessem, né, se deslocar para museus, para espaços onde houvesse uma explicação a respeito dessas figuras, tudo bem, mas se não existe, é melhor que elas sejam arrancadas mesmo, porque elas, para nós, é indiferente, mas para algumas pessoas, isso resgata um passado de dor.
Certo, então, professora. Mais uma questão, agora da Simone Batista. Ela pergunta, na verdade, ela pede, would you talk a bit more about how you see the importance of Spike Lee's movies in breaking abyssal lines?
I didn't understand the last part of your question. The Spike Lee's movies?
In breaking abyssal lines.
Yeah, abyssal lines. Spike Lee is such an interesting director because he doesn't work with univocal characters. They are only good or bad. They are good character or bad character. No, they are complex. They are crossed by subjectivities, as all of us are. So that's the magic of Spike Lee. But of course, the racial issues are there. He's gonna talk about riots, about racism, prejudice. He's gonna talk about the presence of Black soldiers during the wars, as I said before. And he's going to make his characters main characters, not only supporters of white characters. Did I answer, Simone? Thank you, my friend.
Thank you again. And Rafa Tenório asked, Andrea, você poderia explicar o significado da palavra Bloods no contexto da Guerra do Vietnã, como visto no filme Descantamento Blood, do Spike Lee?
Ok. Eles eram um grupo, né, de... Deixa eu ver, 1, 2, 3... Quatro soldados, liderados pelo Chadwick Boseman, e o nome desse destacamento, dessa tropa, era Bloods, né? Mas esse Bloods, ele faz referência também a esse grupo que se tornou uma irmandade de sangue, né? Então faz outras referências também, é um nome bastante metafórico. Mas eles lutaram na Guerra do Vietnã, sem saber se deviam lutar, às vezes, né, numa crise existencial, porque enquanto eles estavam lutando lá fora, dentro dos Estados Unidos, você tinha perseguição, tinha Ku Klux Klan, tinha Jim Crow, tinha Separate But Equal. Então, olha que coisa, né? Eu estou lutando por um país que não me vê como um soldado, que não me vê como um patriota. Então, é um filme que traz todas essas perspectivas. E ele não idealiza as personagens, como eu disse, né? O Paul, ele sofreu todo esse racismo, mas ele apoiou Trump. Ele usa um boné Great America Again.
Okay, we have 5 minutes to close. It's been amazing. Cielo left us a comment, Andrea. The writer James Baldwin said that in the 70s, with his novel Giovanni's Room, on his homosexuality rather than racism, theme of his previous novels. So you see, there are many examples in literature and cinema. By the way, Cielo, this is one of my favorite books. I love this book. I love Baldwin. E tem 2 comentários aqui da Jéssica Gavazzi, que é nossa aluna da Letras Inglesas. Ela falou assim, eu acho que eu vi uma palestra da Andrea em 2017 na aula do Daniel sobre esse tema, e eu já tinha adorado. Principalmente quando a senhora cantou Wade in the Water na sala. Você cantou. Tanto que levei essa música para o cursinho popular com a professora de História. A palestra dessa vez conseguiu ser diferente e ainda incrível. Obrigado, Jéssica. E a Bela Gomes escreveu, não é uma pergunta...
Quer que eu cante de novo? Eu canto, não tem problema. Eu sou muito
Não é uma pergunta, apenas um elogio à professora Cotrim por levantar esses assuntos em sala de aula e ensinar seus alunos, como eu, a procurar conhecimento para embasar os atos como professores antirracistas. Acho que a Bela é sua aluna, então ficam esses 2 elogios. Eu acho que tem muito mais, o pessoal pediu os slides, se você puder me mandar, para a gente mandar por e-mail para todo mundo que se inscreveu, porque eles querem todas essas references. Vou agradecer a Bianca. Bianca, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you all for being with us. Many colleagues from around the country, Rio de Janeiro, Goiás, etc. I don't want to be unfair. I'd like to thank my students for being until now with us, and also for allowing me to open this kind of debate for everybody around the country. So thank you very much. And Andrea, with you, your final words, anything you'd like to say?
Eu tenho alunos de literaturas africanas aí, que o Rafael, tal, então eu vou me despedir em português, agradecendo a presença de todos. Foi um prazer, Daniel, como eu te disse, eu admiro muito o seu trabalho. Já tinha conhecido a Bianca realmente é um anjo que faz essa ponte, uma flor, assim, muito gentil. Agradeço, então, novamente a presença dos meus amigos da Unip, né, do Instituto Federal, meus aluninhos. Sempre, eu tenho muito orgulho dos meus alunos, Daniel, porque eles se engajam nessa temática, eles começam a ver o mundo com outros olhos, mas é um exercício contínuo, né, porque coisas que eu não via, eu já estudei, então, tudo bem, já estudei, não, é um exercício diário de se ver num lugar muito privilegiado. Por isso que eu acho que agora eu estou, depois do doutorado, tentando focar mais na questão da branquitude, né? E do que é invisibilizado. Mas te agradeço imensamente. Muito obrigada.
Muito obrigado. It was a lovely morning. Uma manhã muito agradável, que bom. Diferente também para nós dos alunos, é tão bom ouvir os especialistas e estar com colegas queridos. Então, muito obrigado. Vou, assim, sempre recomendar para quem está nos assistindo...
Eu canto, não tem problema, para homenagear a Jéssica.
Peraí, só um pouquinho, deixa eu só agradecer, a gente termina com você cantando. Eu vou pedir para o pessoal me ajudar a divulgar esses vídeos, eles ficam gravados no canal do YouTube, GL, ou GL Daniel Ferraz, é só colocar meu nome, sai lá. O meu canal é meu nome mesmo, e aí o pessoal pode assistir depois e divulgar. E hoje à noite, às 9 da noite, 9 p.m., we have Suzana Mizan, falando de memes, a cultura digital, cultura visual e os memes. Eu acho também que vai ser imperdível. Então, André, encerramos com você cantando. Vamos lá.
Não, é imperdível, e eu vou assistir a Su, porque também sempre aprendo com ela. Bom, é uma musiquinha, um spiritual, né, com um tom religioso, e os escravizados sabiam que, na verdade, ela continha códigos de fuga. Os brancos não percebiam, porque eles entendiam como um hino religioso, meio, né, chamado spiritual. Então, essa música fala assim, olha, vá pela água no inverno, se você quer fugir, né, porque ela está congelada e os cachorros não podem te seguir pelo faro, porque a água está congelada, né, então vá pelo Mississippi e tente fugir por ali. Então, eram códigos, né, diretrizes para fuga. Então, eu não estou vendo vocês, só a Bia e o Daniel, então vocês vão bater palma aí do outro lado da telinha, e eu vou cantar. Eu não sou cantora, mas eu vou tentar. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, God's gonna trouble the water. Pronto. Já cantei.
Tá, mutei aqui. Thank you. Obrigado, Andréia. Muito obrigado. Guys, thank you very much. Muito obrigado. Thank you for your presence. And I'll see you later on. See you at night with Suzana Mizan. Bye. Thank you, Andréia. Obrigado, gente. Thank you.